So this should be the last lesson on these algebraic fractions, which is great. It finishes off the term nicely, and it puts us ahead of the game in terms of stuff going into year 11. So as a reminder of what we've done kind of the last couple of lessons, so we have to be really careful with these algebraic fractions. We have been saying that we need to obviously make the denominators the same. That's the only way you can add and subtract fractions anyway. And a way to do this is to multiply these two down here. So we can put this both over 12. So if you like, we're going to have them both over 12 in total. And so that first one we multiply by 4. And if you remember, we use this kind of technique. So we're going to do that times that. So it's 4 brackets 3 minus 2x. Minus, because that's a minus there, 3 times this, because that's the action we would take to get over a common denominator. And it's a case then of tidying up the top. So expand the top, being very careful when it comes to these negatives multiplied by negatives. So that's going to give me plus 15. Still all over 12. And then finish tidying up. So 12 add 15 is 27. Minus 8x, minus 3x, minus 11x, all over 12. And then you should pick a value, say, for example, x equals 2. And you should put that into there in your calculator. So just literally type that in, that expression into your calculator, but replace x with 2. Do the same with this one, and you will end up finding that for both of them, it gives you a value of 5 over 12. I've literally picked that x equals 2 at random. You can use x equals 1, 3, 9. The only thing I would say don't use is 0, because that can change matters. All right, we are just going to extend that a bit today and look at ones that look like this. So please make sure you copy down this example. So you'll notice now that we have got denominators which are algebraic. So before they were just numeric, and now we've kind of got algebraic ones. But we're going to follow exactly the same routine as we did before. So we're going to multiply these two things to get the denominator. So x times 3 minus x, and then cross multiply the top. So we're going to do this times this, 4, 3 minus x, plus, because there's a plus there, this times this, 5x. Tidy up the top, so we're going to multiply out 12 minus 4x plus 5x over x over 3 minus x, and then the top 12 minus 4x plus 5x is just plus x over x 3 minus x. You may wonder why I'm not multiplying out that denominator. It's because I don't have to. I mean, x brackets 3 minus x is just as simple as 3x minus x squared. Okay, so I can just leave it like that in brackets. I could not do that at this stage because it's not as simple as I can make it. So as you'll see, it's exactly the same technique we're doing. We're multiplying those denominators and then using cross multiplication, this times this and this times this, to get the numerator. Even if it looks like this, so it looks slightly more complicated, we're going to do exactly the same thing. So perhaps pause the video and have a go at that one yourself. Right, so here's what we should get. So we're going to multiply those denominators. So it's all going to be x minus 2 over x plus 2. And it's this times this. And then it's minus, don't forget, 3 times this. Expand the top, 3x plus 10 minus 3x. Be very careful, it catches people out all the time. Minus 3 times minus 2 plus 6 all over. And again, I'm going to leave that factorised because that's fine to do it on questions like this. Tidy up the top, 2x plus 16 all over x minus 2 x plus 2. Job Done. I could factorise that top 2 brackets x plus 8, but that doesn't help me. Perhaps if I'd done that and I could find a common factor, I could do some cancelling out, but that's not the case in this one. I don't think it'll be the case on any of the questions you get today. One more example. So here on this one, you'll remember that if I had something like 2x over 4 minus x over 6, when I multiply this times this, that gives me 24, but that's not the lowest common multiple of those. I could use 12 instead. That kind of links us on to this question at the top. So I don't need to do this times this. Hopefully you can see it. I just need to get the denominators the same. Well, I've already got an x plus 4 as a factor of both denominators. So if I just multiply the first fraction by x minus 2, so 4x minus 2, multiply the bottom by x plus 4 over x minus 2, now I've got the denominators the same. So now I can just add on the other part, 3x plus 2, because now they're over common denominator. Expand the top, 4x minus 8 plus 3x plus 2 all over, and again I can leave those all factorised because that's the same as simplification wise as if I had expanded it. 4x plus 3x is 7x, minus 8 plus 2 minus 6 all over that same thing. And that is it. You may see some questions, for example, like if we'd maybe had this one, we might have had, perhaps we didn't have that on the right hand side. Perhaps it had been written like 3x plus 2 all over x squared plus 2x minus 8. So perhaps I'd have a question like that instead. And it looks quite complicated, and you might go, all right, okay, well, I need to multiply those denominators, and you do this times this on the right hand side. That is going to be too complicated for you to do because you're going to end up with a cubic, which you don't know how to factorise. Right, so your first step with here would be to look at that denominator. You need to start recognising stuff and keeping an eye out for this stuff. You should look at that denominator and go, I wonder if I can factorise it. And you go, oh, yes, I can factorise it quite easily to this. And then you'll notice at that point that the denominator is very similar to the one we've got here. And thus I need to only multiply that first bit by x minus 2 over x minus 2. So you do see these, especially in the IGCSE papers, things that look like this. I'll see if I can find a couple of questions to put on your worksheet. But your first step would be to factorise it, and then if you'd have kind of just started to do x plus 4 times this, it should look really complicated, and it should be like, okay, that's too complicated. What have I missed? So kind of keep an eye out for that as well. Okay, so get on with the questions and then pop on to the meet if you need any support.